So this patient I've just seen, lovely Asian Pakistani man, couldn't speak very much English anyway. So I've sat him down. He's come with his daughter, and as an audiologist, you start to you learn how to communicate with people, and it's called deaf awareness. So it's knowing actually when somebody's struggling with their hearing. Sometimes it's quite difficult to tell though. So with this gentleman, he was very, very quiet when he came in. Now that could mean that he's not hearing what I'm saying. It could mean that he's become quite reclusive. It could mean that actually there's other sort of cognitive problems going on, and he's just not interacting because he's just basically maybe has some dementia or some sort of cognitive problem that's affecting him. So you're almost having to be an architect to find out what the problem is. His daughter's come in and said, actually, we're a bit concerned about his wax, but it's been a few years now and he hasn't been hearing very well. So had a look in his ears. One of his ears was impacted with wax, the other ear was fine. So took the wax out. And if it was wax that was the problem, as soon as it comes out, he should have changed immediately. But he sort of shrugged his shoulders and said, no different. Still wasn't talking very much. So at this stage, I'm still unclear about what the problem is. We've ended up doing a hearing test because we're able to do that in our clinic here. Done a hearing test for him, and it took ages to get him to understand. And his daughter, interestingly, wasn't sure he was going to be able to do it, because she was like, and she kept saying he won't be able to hear me. But the way she was communicating with him, she never had really good deaf awareness. She didn't know how to raise a voice, how to speak to somebody. So I started to get the impression that either it's a very significant hearing loss, in which case sadly he's been living with this for a few years, or there's something else going on. She assured me that there isn't. He's fine, and when he does hear you, he can understand everything. So that gave me some reassurance. We had to do the instructions for the hearing test a few times, but eventually he got it. He wasn't able to press the button because he kept pressing it too much. So we changed the hearing test, and I asked him to raise his hand when he heard the sound. We conditioned for that a few times, and we got really good results. One ear was a severe hearing loss, so about 70 dB across the different frequencies, which is very significant. That's the sort of the difference between a moderate to severe hearing loss. So he's moving into the severe range. And the left ear was completely profound. He never responded at all, even at 110 decibels, which is very, very loud. So basically we would say he's got a deaf ear, he's got a dead ear on one side, and he's got a severe hearing loss on the other. So I really felt for him, and as soon as he came out, I knew now that actually if I raised my voice to a certain amount in the right ear, he would hear me. And as soon as I said that to him, and I said, your right ear you can hear, your left ear you can't, he said exactly that. He said, that's it, I can't hear on my left ear. So it's really important as an audiologist that you start piecing together your experience with the patient, because you're learning as you're talking to them what the family member's saying and then what the hearing test is telling us. You put it all together, and then you can start to get a picture of what this person's going through. I've written a recommendation to the GP that he needs to be referred to the ENT immediately, because he's got a profound loss on one side and we expect both ears to deteriorate together. So it's a red flag if one ear has gone down more than the other. But more likely, they probably can't do anything for that, unfortunately, because usually hearing losses like that you can only manage when they first happen. And in his case, I think it's been a few years. But the other thing I think he definitely needs is a new hearing aid for the right ear, and he's never worn one before. I think that will make a massive difference to his life. I've encouraged the family to keep talking to him, because one of the things that predicts good, there's a famous research that's come out over the last few years linking the most predictable change that can be made in order to stop or to delay dementia, or one of the biggest risk factors for dementia onset is actually a managed hearing loss. And I think personally that it's not a linear correlation, it's not a direct correlation, rather it's not a causative relationship, rather it's a correlation. And what's the correlation between a hearing loss and dementia? It's the fact that when people get a hearing loss, sadly, they become quite reclusive. People stop talking to them and they stop using the brain that we've been blessed with. So if we can keep talking to our loved ones, our family members, if we can help them hear us when we do that with a hearing aid, usually people stay engaged, they're still talking, they're using their brain. And I think that's the main reason why people develop dementia. It's because, sadly, it's because there's nobody to talk to, or more importantly, nobody to listen to them. I hope that helps. See you all next time.